We can start. Hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. Today we will talk about decentralized finance. Actually, once I've read a quote from Vitalik Buterin, who said that today blockchain is about money. So the key application of blockchain is still just money. The Bitcoin is actually money, and most of the Ethereum smart contracts connected to some money applications. Of course, there are some games, there are NFTs, but the majority of all applications still money. And today we will cover this topic. Of course, one hour is not enough, but as a result of this lecture, you will please understand what are the key components of DeFi. So what is DeFi? If we compare it to the centralized classical system, financial system that we have now, the centralized finance is different from what we have in classical banking in a way that there is no middleman, there is no so-called trusted party. The part of trusted party is exchanged by the smart contracts, by the mechanism, by the program, basically, which work in a certain way. And we can make sure that it will work only in a, let's say, predictable way. And that is why it's not possible that your money will be blocked, frozen, confiscated, whatever might happen with them could happen in classical banking today. But with the true decentralized finance, it's not possible, because as soon as this program, the smart contracts are open source, you can read them, you can check them, and you can make sure that nothing that you are not expecting could happen to your tokens, to your assets that you place into the smart contracts. So that's the key difference. We take away from the system middlemen, we put the smart contracts, and this is always interaction peer-to-peer. So it's someone with someone interacting via the smart contracts. Again, DeFi is that the key point here is your keys, your money. Another very important points about DeFi is that it's open ecosystem. Anyone can interact with the DeFi protocol. As soon as you understand how smart contracts on Ethereum blockchain is working, you can always write your own smart contract or other application which use certain protocol existing on the chain. It means that this is actually working like money Lego. In classical banking system, it's always closed system. There are some initiatives, it's called PSD2, Payment Service Directive 2 in Europe, which forces banks to have open APIs, but it's still not 100% open as it is in decentralized finance. So classical banking operates in specific jurisdictions, so you can work with your money in one country, cannot do it in another. As I already mentioned, any transaction can be blocked or reverted. And finally, DeFi centralized system, they're closed systems, and no one except insiders do not have actually control of what happens. But in DeFi, it's fully transparent, and we now see that closed projects like, for example, Celsius actually lost money and bankrupt now, but open, truly DeFi protocols like AAVE, Compound, they are operational with minimum losses and they are healthy, and the system proved itself, I mean, the DeFi concept. So what actually how much money in DeFi protocols. We see that when it was, I would say, the top of the market, it was more than 200 billion, so-called total value locked. So it's money locked in DeFi protocols. Now it's about 50 billion. And if we to compare this, actually 100 billion, it was just made in different time. To the whole market, we see that still DeFi is just very small fraction of the whole financial system. The stock market is 90 trillion US dollars. Global real estate 3 times more, and derivatives is 1 quadrillion. So we see that actually the road in the future is it's just the beginning, I would say it in these words. It means that we're just in the very beginning. And why I really believer in DeFi is that because today regulation lead to the situation when as soon as you use a classical financial system, you are not owner of your asset. It's the bank's money, it's not yours. It was maybe 100 years ago when there was a notion of classical banking, let's say, banking secret, that bank will never disclose how much money you have on account, but it's no more the case. So anyone can get, not anyone, but actually law enforcement agencies can get this information. Anything can happen to your assets, and it's not good. But DeFi is a new concept which let you own what you have truly. And by the way, comparing to the gold is almost 11 trillion US dollars, and the whole cryptocurrency market is about 1 trillion. So it's still 10 times more in gold. If we talk about blockchains, actually that 60% all assets are locked on Ethereum. Ethereum was the first blockchain which started to use DeFi. Actually, Binance Smart Chain, BSC, Tron, Avalanche, Arbitrum, even Tron, it's still Ethereum compatible system with smart contracts. So the principle of the contracts, the protocols, the key principles of how protocols work is all the same. So it's just the forks, just the copies taken from Ethereum brought into other blockchains. As you know, the key concept of Ethereum is that is the usage of tokens, and actually the whole DeFi is built on tokens, and sometimes we tokenize other tokens. What it means is that, for example, we issue DAI under Red Collateral. DAI is a stable coin. We have Ethereum, and 5 years ago, actually, it just was Ethereum, and then it appeared DAI. Then we put our DAI, our stable coins, in Alchemix Financial Vault. It's the DeFi protocol. This vault prints us another tokens, so it's all USD, so it's also stable coin. And then something happens to this stable coin. It means that actually we always put one tokens, get another tokens, and we can put these tokens into another protocol, get another tokens, and all the system is working in this way. And that's actually the key concept. You always convert one tokens into another, and that is why sometimes starting with let's say billion US dollars of the base tokens, you can get 10 billion total value locked, because this billion converted 10 times into different tokens. So it's 10 steps when you convert one token into another, then to another, and then to another. So the classical financial market, the derivatives market, actually, the biggest one, works the same way. What are the opportunities behind DeFi? Why are a strong believer in DeFi? Because we mentioned it, but I repeat it once again. Actually, DeFi ecosystems are limited only by a specific accounting system, meaning the blockchains like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, Solana. But today, we have more and more bridges, and bridges let us move our assets from one blockchain to another. So you can easily move Ethereum, for example, from Ethereum to Polygon via bridge. Still, there are issues how this bridge are built, and it's difficult to build through the decentralized bridges. But we have, I would say, examples which will getting us closer to this decentralization of bridges. Decentralized appearance of such things like it's called AMMs, automatic market makers. The most well-known is Uniswap. That's a truly decentralized exchange, and you do not need to trust some centralized bridges. Not bridges, but exchanges. You can swap one token to another on chain without trusting to some exchange centralized, which can block your assets because it's not your address where you send the tokens for the exchange operation, so it can be blocked. Then DeFi banks, that's a closer topic to me because I have about 20 years experience of working in classical banks. We have protocols which do exactly the same functionality. They work like classical banks. It's AAVE, Compound, and additionally, we already have derivative platforms. And the last thing is global reach, no borders in assets transfer. So there is no such thing like currency control. And if you want to send from address A to address B, certain asset, you can do it. No one can stop you from this operation. This is not the case, by the way, in a classical banking system. So even if you do some transfer in the banking, there always could be questions to you why you do this, why you send this money to this person, what's the essence of this deal. So a lot of questions could be asked to you if the currency control thinks that they should ask these questions. But there are issues. Of course, if we have advantage of open systems, then we have issues of hacks and exploits. As soon as you build this open system, anyone can do anything with the system, and if the system has errors, then these errors could be exploited. Of course, errors could be exploited in classical banking system, but as soon as the system is closed, these errors could not be exploited. But here, it's a real problem, and we have hundreds of millions of dollars stolen from different protocols, and that's the issue. That's the problem. Then scalability issues, high cost of Ethereum transaction. Here is one of the examples. Then simple swap, one token to another costs $25. Now this problem partially solved, and we will talk about later how it could be solved. And of course, regulatory issues, know your client policy, compliance, anti-money laundering. With this freedom of movement, money between different addresses, there could be, let's say, examples when stolen money are sent to some addresses, and anything could be done. And if it's illegal, then we need, anyway, somehow we need to find ways how to stop it. And that's the key questions which are asked by the regulators around the world. about the blockchains, how to control the money flows in a good sense, not in a bad sense, but in a good sense. How DeFi is built, from what blocks? Because I've already mentioned the notion of money Lego. What are these key blocks? So the first is stable coins, DAI, USDT, USDC. Then automatic market makers. So that's the place where you can exchange one token to another. Lending protocols, DeFi banks, simply put it. Derivatives markets, yield aggregators, and DeFi analytics as a tool to understand what happens. We start with stable coins and get into the ways that the stable coins are built, the key classification. What are difference between different stable coins? So we have this rating, and we see that actually, according to these numbers, the largest stable coins, USDT, USDC, BUSD, of course, is much less now because it has questions from US regulators. But still, market cap of 100 billion US dollars is covered by so-called Fiat-backed stable coins. And only 5 billion is crypto-backed. What's the difference? Actually, if we talk about Fiat-based stable coins, so we see it's on the top of this picture. We see that it's really centralized. It means that it's not decentralized system, it's centralized systems. And it's always backed one by one. It means that for every USDC or every USDT token printed by the centralized issuer, Tether, for example, for USDT, we always have $1 real of backing at some banking account in a real world, in a real banking system. This is not the case for the DAI. As you see, it's decentralized issuer, so it's built on smart contracts. And we see that it's not one-to-one, it's over collateralized, which means that if you want to issue one DAI, you have to put a collateral of more than one DAI, maybe 1.5 DAI, and not the DAI, but US dollar value. It could be Ethereum, it could be wrapped Bitcoin, it could be any other asset, but with certain guarantee on top of 1-to-1 ratio. And we see that system like Terra already collapsed. Why? Because it was uncollateralized, because there was no real backing for their stable coins that they issued. And how we make sure that everything is okay with the proof of funds of Fiat-backed stable coins? Very simple. We have the independent accountants report. It means that for the centralized company like Tether or Circle for USDC stablecoin issuer, we have appointed auditor, external independent auditor who comes to us, to this company. Then they make an audit of all the booking records of the company. And as a result, they issue a report that, yes, for example, this company has real collateral for every USDT token they issue. They have real 60 billion US dollars for 60 billion issued stable coins, which are circulating on the blockchain. That's how it works. Crypto-backed stable coins worked in a different way, and already mentioned it's about 5 billion US dollar now. The hugest one, the biggest one is MakerDAO. Anyone can be the issuer, actually, which means that if you have, let's say, one Ethereum, which is now about $1,500 US dollars cost, you can put this Ethereum into special smart contract, which is called Vault, and issue DAI. So you log into smart contract, you are 1 Ethereum, and you can issue $1,000, and then your collateralization ratio will be about 150%. On this example, we see that for this vault, which issues 150, which issued outstanding DAI debt is $1,000. They have collateralization ratio of 368%. That's it. So you are the issuer. Then you can do with this DAI whatever you want. But as soon as this ratio will be broken, which means that as soon as for the vault, for example, you are allowed to have only 150% collateralization ratio. If the price of your collateral is going down, then your position can be liquidated. So someone else will come, repay your debt, and take with the special premium part of your collateral, part or all your collateral. That's how the system is working. And here we see the stability fee. So that's the actually price the protocol takes for the issuance of the DAI. Collateralization ratio, you see that 150% liquidation fee. If you allow liquidation, if you actually did not pay out the debt yourself, then someone will do it for you, and you pay additional fee and lose your collateral. Coming to the automated market makers, and of course here we should speak about Uniswap. So what are the concepts behind the Uniswap and all automated market makers? We have two types of roles in this protocol. So it's all about smart contracts again. There's no any centralized authority. It's just the smart contracts on Ethereum. We have Uniswap pool, which is a smart contract. And we have the trader. That's the person who actually making a swap, exchanging one token to another. And we have so-called liquidity provider. That's the second person, actually the first one, because to swap, you need the liquidity. So first the liquidity provider puts his tokens, his liquidity into Uniswap pool, and then comes trader and makes his swaps, exchanging one token to another. The only thing you have to understand that why liquidity provider is doing it, because liquidity provider actually earns a fee. If we talk about Uniswap, we see that the trader pays 0.03% fee. This fee comes to liquidity provider. So that's the reason why liquidity provider is doing it. The formula behind Uniswap is called actually constant product formula. It means that always the number of token X, the first token, and the number of token Y multiplied should equal the same value, K. The K is constant. So this is how it works. It means that as soon as you exchange token A for token B, it means that you put token A and you get token B from the pool. According to this formula, the price of token A is falling, and the price of token B is rising relatively to one another. And that's very easy to explain because the number of tokens A in your pool is increasing and the number of token B is decreasing because you exchange A for B. So you put A into the smart contract as a trader and you talk to B from the pool. Okay, so that's how the trader is operating. Here we see that the pool starts from, let's say, 1,200 token one token, yes, reserves. So we start with 1,200 tokens A and 400 token B. Then the trader exchanging 3 tokens A for 1 token B. As a result, we have in the pool 3 tokens A more, so it's 1,203 tokens A, and 399 tokens B, because 1 token was received by the trader. And the price, you see, we started on the price 3 tokens A for token B, and we end with the price 3.01. So the price increased. So that's the way how it works. Well, it sounds quite complex, but as soon as you read yourself, you will understand the idea behind it. It's really very simple. What is not simple is the third, not the second, but the third version of Uniswap, which is built on the concept of concentrated liquidity. So how concentrated liquidity is working? If you are a liquidity provider for the second version, this one, that's the second version of Uniswap, then you cannot define this price in which your liquidity will be used. So it's from 0 to eternity. But in concentrated liquidity, the third version of Uniswap, you as a liquidity provider can define the price range in which your liquidity will be used. Why we do it and why it's a good idea? Because then you can get more capital efficiency. And here is an example that you need $1 million US of DAI and Ethereum for Uniswap V2 to get the same profitability as from 183,500 for the third version. In the third version, we concentrated all our liquidity in a range of 1,000 to 2,500 US for one Ethereum. And doing this, we need less money and get more profit from the fees from our liquidity, which we provide to the protocol, to the smart contracts. So that's the key idea. Next is so-called DeFi banks, and it also completely based on smart contracts. The system is built on smart contracts, and here in Distributed Lab, we actually built our own protocol, decentralized lending protocol. We called it Defina, and actually here we have some screenshots, but I can show it in reality. You can access it. It's deployed on Binance Smart Chain. And how it works. Actually, this is the classical banking functionality when you have, let's say, DAI liquidity pool. We have about $50 US for DAI in this pool. And what we have supply side and we have borrow side. It means that anyone can supply or deposit liquidity into this pool, and anyone can borrow, not anyone, but those who have actually collateral. And we can see that from the liquidity of 49 US, we have $10 borrowed. And utilization ratio actually will explain us utilization ratio is 20%. So we simply divide 10 by 50, so it's about 20%. And depending on this utilization ratio, we have the interest rate. So here we have supply rate of less than 1%, and borrow rate, you can borrow more DAI from this pool and pay about 1%. But as soon as you borrow more, this rate will increase. So that's the banking functionality. When you can deposit money, you can borrow money. But if the bank is centralized system and someone's make decision, either give you a loan or not, here it's all built on real smart contracts. So there is it's automatic. So there's no any person sitting behind this website and making decision whether to give you loan or not. So here you have more liquidity, and you can borrow from this protocol more money. So let's continue. Let's get into this mechanics of how these protocols are working. And here we have to understand the notion of so-called interest-bearing tokens. What it means that, again, as I started with it, so when you get into protocol one token, you get another. The same way is working with our lending protocol. Let's imagine that Alice owns 100 DAI, and she puts this DAI into our DeFi protocol, which is promising to her 12% APR annual rate, APR annual percentage rate. As soon as she did it, our protocol definer is printing her so-called LP DAI and other tokens. So from her address, we see the transaction for 100 outgoing to the smart contract, our protocol, and incoming. So the protocol sends her 100 LP DAI. Why? The point is that this LP DAI are interest bearing, and we start the pool, and we have 1-to-1 ratio with the real DAI. So LP DAI divided by the real DAI is 1. So we can exchange 1-to-1 LP DAI. But when after 1 year, we have to pay to Alice 12% APR, but she still holds in her address 100 LP DAI. The fact is that the value of this DAI and the protocol will exchange with the DAI in the pool with the ratio 1.12. It means that with time, the value of LP DAI is increasing. That is why we call it interest-bearing tokens. So they have this interest inside them. So that's the concept on which lending protocols are built. Well, that's another protocol that's compound, so quite the same concept. The interest rate for the supply side and the borrow market, of course, you cannot borrow more than you have in the pool. And that is why we say that actually DeFi can generate total value locked from out of thin air. Always when you have one token, you put it into DeFi protocol, the protocol gives you another token, you can take this token, come with this token to another protocol, put this token into this protocol and get the third token. So that's how it works. So it means that you can take this LP DAI and pay with this LP DAI to someone, or put them into another protocol. This protocol accepts them, so we can do anything with that. And by the way, our Uniswap, if you are liquidity provider, you also get so-called LP shares. So you get from Uniswap protocol LP tokens, which will give you the right to get tokens which are locked in this pool. Additional opportunity of this, let's say, and feature of these protocols, of any DeFi protocol, and specifically the centralized lending protocols, is that you can pay additional interest rate in so-called governance tokens. It means that in real banking, if you come to the classical bank, the bank can pay you only in the currency that you put into deposit. If you put the US dollars, they pay you interest rate in US dollars. If you put it in euros, they pay you in euros. If you put it in hryvnia, you get interest rate in hryvnia. But with the centralized protocols, there is no such limitation. And in addition to the deposit rate nominated in the currency of your deposit, you can pay interest rate in additional token. In this example, but today AAVE does not do this, but that was the case a year ago. AAVE adds APR. For example, for the DAI, they pay 10% in DAI and 3.33% in their own governance token, AAVE token. And that is why, as a result, you get about 14%. So that's another feature, and that's called liquidity mining. The same stuff happens with the curve. That's another liquidity AMM actually protocol. It's let's say very close to Uniswap, but it specializes on exchanging the same assets, for example, one stablecoin to another, and they pay you additional interest rate in their own governance token, CRV token. And that is why you can get higher profitability. Another function which does not exist in classical banking is so-called flash loans. Flash loans, that's a special function when you do not need any collateral to borrow any amount which are in the pool. So you can borrow millions of US dollars, but with one with one limitation. You should do it in one transaction, in one block. As soon as you do it in one block, in one transaction, it will work. If not, then everything will be reverted, transaction will not come through. So you cannot steal money from the protocol which gives you flash loan, because the worst thing which could happen is that transaction will be reverted and you pay for this transaction, but it will not be finished. Why you need it? Because of some things like exchanging collateral and a lot of stuff, and leveraging, for example. You can build the leverage position with this transaction, borrowing in one transaction money from certain protocol, putting it into another. Derivatives. We should start with very interesting derivatives, which is called liquid staking derivatives. The short version is LSD, liquid staking derivatives. That's actually the derivatives which are very popular because the Ethereum came to the so-called proof of stake consensus. And here we see that if you have one Ether, you can put this Ether into liquidity staking derivatives protocol. For example, the Lido is the biggest one, and get 4.5% interest rate on your Ethereum, and you also get again the token. So you put one token, into the protocol, you get another token back. It's ST ETH, so it's staked ETH. And the point is that this staked ETH is always, is actually, you can exchange it for the real Ethereum with a very small discount. So it's always, the relationship is almost 1-to-1. And we see here the table with the competitors of stake of ST ETH, of Lido protocol. We have the Coinbase, Rotopool, Frax. We have different tokens which are issued, liquid staking tokens. So that's the token you get after you send Ethereum to this protocol. They, of course, have different mechanics of mechanism, how tokens work. Reward-bearing token, that's the same notion as the interest-bearing, that's the same. Another mechanic could be rebasing, but we will not talk about it because we don't have time. Of course, these protocols take some fees for themselves. They have so-called validators, which actually doing this proof of stake, taking part in this proof of stake consensus and earning this 4.5 or higher or lower profitability. Another derivatives protocol is opin.co. That's the options. Options, that's another type of derivatives. If you want, you can read it, but actually that's when we work with the future events and we make stakes on the future events if certain asset will come to a certain price level or not. Yield aggregators, as we see, we have different AMMs, different lending protocols, and on top of these protocols, using APIs, which actually anyone can access, we can build aggregators, which means that we can, let's say, look for the best interest rate for the DAI, for example, and put our pool of money of DAI into the best profitability at the moment. So if we have high rates on compound, we, in a decentralized manner, it's also smart contracts, bring the majority of our assets to the compound. If we have high rates on AAVE, another lending protocol, then we redistribute, relocate our funds into AAVE pools. That's how this type of protocols work. And Hydro Finance is one of the examples. DeFi analytics, as we know, everything on Ethereum is open. So if we talk about banks, you cannot access someone, actually the real banking account of your friend, for example, and understand how money your friend has on his account, his or her account. But with as soon as you know the address, Ethereum address of anyone, you can look into blockchain. Anyone can do this and find out how much assets on this account. And we have special services like zapper.fi and debunk.com. Debunk is not the bank, it's just the service which allows you to track lots of DeFi protocols and understand what happens with a specific account on the blockchain. And here we see that the so-called DeFi whales, it's the accounts which have millions or billions of US dollars and on one address, we have 5 billion US dollars, which is distributed between different protocols and different blockchains. So in this example, they have this whale, this address has assets on Ethereum, on Binance Smart Chain, and on Polygon. And coming to the end about my presentation, how do we resolve the issue of scalability? We started that transaction on Ethereum is very costly, so it costs lots of money. scalability is achieved by so-called sidechains and level 2 solutions. This is the blockchains which connected to the Ethereum via bridges. In some cases, these blockchains like Optimism or Arbitrum, actually, they have almost the same level of security and decentralization like mainnet, like Ethereum. But on this blockchains, you have much lower cost of transaction and much higher transactions per second capability. It means that if Ethereum can work with maximum 20, maybe 25, a little bit more transactions per second, with the blockchains like Polygon, you might have maybe not thousands, but hundreds of transactions per second. That allows make them cheap. Here we have the list of some solutions, some rollups, Arbitrum, Optimism, that's what I mentioned, Polygon, and rising, let's say, technology zero knowledge proof, about which we will talk on the next lecture, which also allow us to create the so-called ZK rollups, and that is also solutions which are protected by Ethereum in terms of security, but give us opportunity to have the high speed of the blockchain and the low cost of transactions. KYC compliance, well, if we have a purpose to protect ourselves from some, let's say, not clear money, clear in terms of we don't understand the origin of this money, then we might use certain providers which allow to track addresses and give us actually the list of certain address. Again, due to the openness of the blockchains, we always can analyze from which account to which account transactions came and make actually our decision if we want to work with this specific address or not, according to our anti-money laundering policy. That's it for today. If you have questions, please ask. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for a big presentation. Maybe you have a question, our dear students. Please, you can try with voice. Okay. So you have opportunity get your question in the classroom, and now we can finish and see you soon. Now I will add a material, presentation and quiz, and we will see on Thursday. Yes. Okay.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir, a lot. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.